When I attended the UN Conference on Population and Development in Cairo last year, I was swept up in a world of exciting rhetoric about putting women and their needs at the center of all population programs and development work. When I came back to Pakistan and began telling other women about the importance of reproductive rights, it suddenly sounded like a foreign term that had little to do with women in Pakistan. But why did I think it was so important last year? Was I wrong in thinking that the Cairo conference achieved something very important to women here? The conference was full of controversy, as Hilda and Dr. Soraya have just mentioned. For example, two of the most prominent leaders at the conference were Pakistani women, and even they did not share the same perspective on the sensitive issues discussed, such as abortion and women's control over their own bodies. Our very own Dr. Nafis Sadek, Executive Director of the United Nations Population Fund, was Secretary General of the conference. In her keynote address, she strongly stated that reproductive health means the basic human right of all couples and individuals to decide freely and responsibly the number, spacing, and timing of their children. On the issue of abortion, she disagreed with the Vatican and many Muslim countries when she said that women should have access to services for the management of complications arising from unsafe abortions. And I quote, "From a moral and ethical point of view," she said, "who can argue with that?" Well, Prime Minister Benazir Bhutto didn't want to argue with that, but she didn't want to directly acknowledge these reproductive health concerns either. In her address, she consistently referred to the growing demographic pressures in the third world and said that the conference should, quote, "seek to promote the objective of Planned Parenthood of population control." She said that the conference should not be viewed as a means to impose adultery, abortion, sex education, and other such matters on individuals, societies, and religions which have their own social ethos, end quote. That may be true, but the Cairo conference was not about population control and the hackneyed notion of the population bomb ticking away. Neither was it about imposing on societies foreign notions of abortion, as Dr. Nafis Sadek made clear. It was about changing our understanding of these issues to meet the needs of women. It was about evolving our understanding of family planning programs beyond simple population control to services that helped women with all of their reproductive health needs, including family planning. Finally, the conference was about admitting that unsafe abortions do take place and taking a determined decision to protect women from the risks involved. In sum, the Cairo conference was about recognizing that no efforts to address population growth or development problems will succeed unless the specific and real needs of women, as Dr. Soraya detailed, their health, their education, their human rights, became the most important goal of all. This is controversial. In fact, it has taken over 30 years of population policies around the world to fail and abuse the health of women before the population and political establishments admitted that maybe women's needs are important after all. It was not surprising, therefore, that the people most unwilling to use this kind of language of reform were political leaders at Cairo themselves, who are often the last to understand and support meaningful change. But for women in Pakistan, I believe that the changes suggested at Cairo relate directly to the changes we want too. For example, the Program of Action, which was the final Cairo document, defined reproductive health as a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, not merely the absence of disease. Reproductive health implies, I quote, that people are able to have a satisfying and safe sex life, and that they have the capability to reproduce and the freedom to decide if, when, and how often to do so. Reproductive health is just a part of larger women's health needs, but the concept specifically addresses the abuses we know so well in Pakistan: rape, unwanted pregnancies, domestic violence, murder, and so on. These all directly attack our bodies, The program of action redefines the success of population programs beyond simply achieving crude targets of growth rate reduction or contraceptive distribution, which have characterized Pakistan's national program. I quote, the aim of family planning programs must be to enable couples and individuals to decide freely and responsibly the number and spacing of their children, and have the information and means to do so. As any of us who have encountered family planning services in Pakistan will know, they are not geared to help women or men make safe and educated choices in a supportive atmosphere, but to demand such quality service is to demand our rights. The complete physical, mental, and social well-being that is the core of the reproductive health concept is at the heart of women's demands in Pakistan. We already have long-standing demands for freedom from rape and violence, for access to basic water, sanitation, nutrition, and healthcare. What was referred to as reproductive rights in Cairo is actually a key part of the women's rights agenda all over the world. The fact that the Cairo conference managed to convey much of this message to governments around the world was an important beginning. Of course, it will take years for the effects to make a difference to our immediate lives, but that will depend on how we use the conference to our benefit. I believe that the recognition of reproductive rights at Cairo caused such controversy and confusion because it was a revolutionary idea. The potential for change, when you put women's needs at the heart of population and development, is boundless. This may be a threat to conservative religious forces, a threat to undemocratic governments, a threat to development projects that don't seek to empower people, but such change can only bring freedom to us as women in our quest for control over our lives, our futures, and our bodies.